Hi folks, this is Andrew Rupe, agronomist of Golden Harvest, covering East Central Iowa. And I'm coming at you today with this week's weekly agronomy video series, What's Going On in Your Crop. The topic of today is V10 corn and R1 soybeans. So V10 corn obviously means the 10th collared leaf on our corn plant. And at this stage, we may actually start to see those bottom 2 or 3 leaves drop off the plant. And so accurate staging of our crop may require us to split the stalk and actually check internodes to see what that actual stage of that corn crop is. Accurately stage our crop because of some of the potential products we may be applying to our crop during this late vegetative stage. The other thing I want to talk about is how rapid the growth is at this stage and up to tassel. So prior to V10, it took about 80 GDUs to get on a new leaf collar on our crop. After V10 or at V10 up to tassel, it only takes about 50 GDUs to add a new collar to our new leaf collar to our corn crop. So we can see new leaf collars emerge about every 2 to 3 days. That's why at this stage and over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we can really see the crop go from waist high up to above our heads in a very, very short amount of time. The other thing that's going on is rapid fertility uptake. So our crop has maybe taken up 15 to 20% of its overall fertility needs up to this point. And then over the next 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, it will take up almost 50 to 60% of its fertility needs in a very, very short amount of time. So fertility needs is very, very critical. Nitrogen, sulfur, potassium, phosphorus, those ones are critical at this stage to take up to the plant prior to tassel. The other thing that I want to stress is the staging of the crop and what that means for some crop protection and other adjuvants that we may be applying to the crop at this stage. So a lot of our herbicides and crop protection products have a cutoff date of no later than V8. And so the reason being is that we can get some arrested ear development with some of those products, some oil-based products, and some different adjuvant products whenever we are applying at this stage or later. So we really want to be careful with the products that we're using. Make sure to reach out to who your provider is for fertilizer or crop protection products, and make sure that it's safe to apply at this V10 growth stage. The last thing I want to mention is corn rootworm management. So if you are in a corn on corn situation, at this stage we have reached and surpassed peak egg hatch of our corn rootworm larvae. So at this stage we may start to see some feeding on our roots if we are in a high pressure corn rootworm situation. So it's a good time to evaluate what pressure looks like and maybe potentially even getting some sticky traps out there to really catch the first end of our adult beetle emergence when it comes to corn rootworm. In the second part of this week's weekly agronomy What's Going On in Your Field video, we're talking R1 soybeans. So R1 soybeans is when flowering has been initiated in our soybean crop. So anytime we see a flower or a bloom in our soybean crop, that means we've hit the R1 growth stage. This is typically triggered by the summer solstice, whenever the plant actually senses day length going down and getting shorter. But we have actually seen flowering initiate prior to the summer solstice in some of our early planted soybean fields. Something that we've just started picking up on over the last few years. So this flowering period typically lasts for about the next 3 to 4 weeks. And unlike corn, our indeterminate soybean varieties will actually overlap reproductive growth and vegetative growth. So we'll see it also grow vegetatively, but also put on more flowers, blooms, and eventually pods. This is a period where we also have rapid root growth. We can actually see root growth expand to 1.5 inches to 3 inches per day. It's a very critical time of water usage and uptake. The other thing that's going on with our plant is soybean nodulation. So Right around V3 to V4, we'll start to see nodules form on our soybean roots, and that's actually going to supply a lot of the nitrogen demand for our soybean plants. So we really want to be out there checking to see that we've got good nodulation on our roots, actually taking those nodules off, splitting them open, and checking that color for a pinkish color to see that those nodules are actually active and fixing nitrogen in the plant. The other thing that's going on around R1 timeframe is soybean post-herbicide applications. So it's a critical time where we're seeing a lot more of our soybean post-emerge applications going on. Making sure that we get those done before we get to the R2 growth stage is going to be critical, because a lot of our soybean labels cut off at or prior to the R2 growth stage. If you got any more questions about this, reach out to your local Golden Harvest seed advisor, sales rep, or GHX specialist.